reading from the book of the prophet Ezekiel. The angel brought me, Ezekiel, back to the entrance of the temple of the Lord, and I saw water flowing out from beneath the threshold of the temple toward the east. For the facade of the temple was toward the east. The water flowed down from the right side of the temple, south of the altar. He led me outside by the north gate and around to the outer gate facing the east, where I saw water trickling from the right side. Then, when we had walked off to the east with a measuring cord in his hand, he measured off 1,000 cubits and had me wade through the water, which was ankle deep. He measured off another 1,000, and once more had me wade through the water, which was now knee-deep. Again he measured off 1,000 and had me wade. The water was up to my waist. Once more he measured off 1,000, but there was now a river through which I could not wade, for the water had risen so high it had become a river that could not be crossed except by swimming. He asked me, "Have you seen the Son of Man?" Then he brought me to the bank of the river where he had me sit. Along the bank of the river I saw very many trees on both sides. He said to me, "This water flows into the eastern district down upon the Arabah and empties into the sea, the salt waters, which it makes fresh. Wherever this river flows, every sort of living creature that can multiply shall live, and there shall be abundant fish. For wherever this water comes, the sea shall be made fresh. Along banks of the river, fruit trees of every kind shall grow. Their leaves shall not fade, nor their fruit fail. Every month they shall bear fresh fruit, for they shall be watered by the flow from the sanctuary. Their fruit shall serve for food, and their leaves for medicine." The word of the Lord. The responsorial psalm, "The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob."
The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob.
God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in distress. Therefore we fear not, though the earth be shaken and mountains plunge into the depth of the sea.
The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is God.
There is a stream whose runlets gladden the city of God, at the holy dwelling of the Most High. God is in its midst. It shall not be disturbed. God will help at the break of dawn. The Lord of hosts is with us. The stronghold is the fruit of. The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob. Come, behold the deeds of the Lord, the astounding things he has wrought on earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
There was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem at the sheep gate a pool, called in Hebrew Bethesda, with 5 porticos. In these lay a large number of ill, blind, lame, and crippled. One man who was there, who had been ill for 38 years, when Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been ill for a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. While I am on my way, someone else gets down there before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your mat, and walk." Immediately the man became well, took up his mat, and walked. Now that day was the Sabbath. So the Jews said to the man who was cured, "It is the Sabbath, and it is not lawful for you to carry your mat." He answered them, "Well, the man who made me well told me, 'Take up your mat and walk.'" They asked him, "Who is the man who told you, 'Take it up and walk'?" The man who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had slipped away since there was a crowd there. After this, Jesus found him in the temple area and said to him, "Look, you are well. Do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse may happen to you." The man went and told the Jews that Jesus was the one who had made him well. Therefore, the Jews began to persecute Jesus because he did this on a Sabbath. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Our reading from Ezekiel in our first reading today is really clearly a foreshadowing of baptism. There's the temple that the angel takes him to, and water is starting to flow out of the temple, and it grows deeper and deeper until it's a river of water flowing out of the temple. It represents, of course, the waters of baptism. Jesus is the temple, and the waters flow from him. The waters don't have power on their own. The water's power comes from him. He is the temple. And from him, the waters flow, the waters of God's love, the waters of grace, the waters of transformation, the waters of salvation. It all flows from the temple, who is Jesus. And then in our gospel today, well, the other thing about that is that the angel shows along the banks of the river, there's fruit trees that are growing and are lush and plentiful, all coming from this living water. Fruit comes from this living water. Spiritual fruit comes from this living water. Forgiveness, compassion, mercy, hope, love, care, all those wonderful fruits of the Holy Spirit come from this living water. That is Jesus pouring it out. And then in our gospel today, we have the man who's been sick for 38 years. Can't get to that pool of water. Somebody always gets in front of him for 38 years, the poor guy. But then Jesus comes along. "Do you want to be well?" "Yes, but nobody gets me into the water. I can't get there in time." So Jesus says, "Get up and walk. Pick up your mat and walk." And he does. It's a sign like, yes, the water is important, but what's the source of the water? It's Jesus. It's Jesus. Jesus is showing the grace of that water is from him. It's all about him and the grace he pours forth and the love he pours forth that brings fruit into our lives, including healing into our lives. It is Jesus himself. So today, as we're moving into this fourth week of Lent, let's take a look at the fruit that is growing up in our lives right now, that flows from many years back for most of us from our baptism, but is being stirred up right now during the Lenten season, being stirred up, and the fruit is starting to grow in our lives. Take a look at your life today and that's happened in the last 3.5 weeks. What are you noticing changing in your life? Where are you growing in faith, hope, love, compassion, understanding, peace? Where is it? It ought to be there. We've been in this 3.5 weeks. We're in the river of grace. Where's the fruit starting to grow up in our lives? We still have time, but take a look, a sincere look. Is there grace? Is there fruit starting to come forth already in this Lenten season for us. That is God's desire. And hopefully it's ours as well.